if it weren't for the fact that we like the taste, you'd be out there wallowing in shoulder-high waste.
The only way to get what you want is to become human yourself.
Can you do that?
Oh, my dear sweet child, that's what I do.
Look at us. We're gonna touch the boat. Come on, Nemo. How far can you go?
Relax. Close your eyes and come with me on an adventure in three-dimensional sound.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 422 for the week of October 11th, 2015. I'm here to help you have the best possible Disney vacation experience, and I want to bring you a little bit of Disney magic wherever you are with this podcast, videos, blog, live broadcasts every week, special events, books, audio tours, and more. You can find everything over at WDWRadio.com and subscribe to the podcast in iTunes. So the immersive environments in Walt Disney World all tell a very complete story, and one that's woven and connected through experiences that impact all of our senses. And there are many instances where the lighting sets the mood, tone, and really affects your emotions. So this week, join us as we reveal our top 10 lighting effects in Walt Disney World, and then ask you to share yours as well. I'll then have the answer to our last Walt Disney World trivia question of the week and pose a new challenge for your chance to win a Disney Prize package. Then stay tuned to the end of the show for some updates and information about upcoming events and your voicemails. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. Walt Disney World is a multi-sensory experience, and it's meant to be enjoyed using all five senses in 360 degrees, 365 days out of the year. And in the past, we've talked about how and the different ways to enjoy the parks using some and all of these senses and the things that you can see, interact with, and smell. And yes, the top 10 smells in Walt Disney World still remains one of my favorite and most popular shows in 10 years of podcasting and talking about Walt Disney World, because I think the olfactory sense is the one that is most closely associated with memory and, of course, most closely associated with food, which, you know, is one of my favorite ways to enjoy and share my Disney experience. But I think when we think about Disney, we close our eyes, we often conjure up an image in our mind's eye. And when we're there, we take hundreds, and for some, thousands, of photos on our trips to remember and or share our experiences. And when we talk about Disney and the emotional or memorable moments, we talk about the reveal of the castle, the spectacle that is Illuminations, the sight gags and pirates, the views from Everest, and so on. But we also talk about how our experiences differ and in some cases are enhanced during different times of day or night. And I think that the evening brings a very unique perspective and in many cases a completely different type of visual experiences to many attractions. And I think that the differences don't just come from the changes in natural light. And in fact, some very memorable scenes and locations in Walt Disney World come from and are because of some spectacular lighting effects. So this week, we're going to look at, pun intended, our top 10 lighting effects in Walt Disney World. And when you hear top 10, you know a few things. One, that it probably won't be limited to 10. Two, I will somehow incorporate food into a non-food related conversation. And three, that I will invite my good buddy to join me on the show once again. So please join me in welcoming the Gilligan to my Skipper, the Dopey to my Happy, the Zazu to my Simba, and the piglet to my poo. He is, of course, Mr. Tim Foster from Celebrations Magazine. Welcome back, my friend.
It's that's all I could do.
You don't even know.
I'm the piglet. I want to know who this friend is that you couldn't get, then you had to invite me on instead.
Well, better I said that you were the piglet to my poo than the Eeyore to my poo.
It didn't come out right either way.
No, I guess not.
I got to tell you, very impressed with the opening that she got through all those numbers and didn't do 365 degrees or something like that. But I got to tell you, 32 seconds, seriously, you brought up food on a topic that I knew there was no way you could even get to food on this one at all.
I am going to tell you, I am going to find a way. I'm going to have, in my top 10, I'm going to find top 10 ways to incorporate food into my top 10.
I just thought of a top 10 we should do sometime. I'm going to throw out top 10 subjects totally at random, and you have to come up with a food thing for all of them.
You know what? Challenge accepted.
Top 10. No way Lou could connect the dots to food on this one.
All right. Challenge accepted. You come up with 10 things to sort of talk to me about or ask me questions about, and I will find a way. And I will not know the topic or a conversation ahead of time. I will find a way to incorporate food.
Okay. But for now,
all right, so let's get into this. And I think this, and Tim, this was actually an idea. You don't have a lot of very good ideas, but when you do, you knock them out of the park. And I love this one, right? Yeah. Because I'm actually a bit of a lighting nerd. And I think that so much of what we see and eat, I did it again, in Walt Disney World is truly art. And I think an overlooked expression of art comes from the lighting designers in Walt Disney World, from Imagineering, because I think that lighting creates such a mood and an environment and a tone and a setting and temperature and emotion. And look, we can make a whole separate show about the lights themselves, because the lighting and the lights are not just utilitarian. They're really sort of help to create that atmosphere and tell that story and for a sense of authenticity. And I think you really I think the lighting helps to pull a lot of things together in attractions or buildings, right? Like I always imagine seeing a building or seeing an attraction with like the work lights on, how different it would look than when the show lights are on.
Yeah. I just think they're pretty.
So let me continue. I think that the
I was waiting for you to throw in 3 there without having even started.
I almost threw an attraction in there.
Yourself.
I did. I behaved myself on that one. But I think, and I think when I see, especially when something new opens up, or I go back and sort of try and take a thoughtful look at something, I imagine all the different disciplines in Imagineering coming together. And even places like New Fantasyland when it opened, or some of the other locations, I think I imagine them going through and deciding not just where the light should be, but where it should not be, right? Where shadows fall and the right colors and the right temperatures and how they are directors, right? They need to direct our focus as we're going through, and, the temperature of the colors. White can be whitish blue, it could be whitish yellow, and how do you? I almost snuck one in there. When we get to a certain section,
I'm waiting. I am just waiting.
How they're able to reproduce the feeling of a light, say from the 1800s, right? They're not using oil or gas, right? They've got to find the right temperature of the light and the right fixture and the frosting or the bubbles on the glass. But I also, because we don't talk about this ahead of time, I will throw in the caveat, the codicil, the rule. Wait, I know. Okay. I'm just going to say.
Wait, I had one too, and you glossed over it. But I want to hear yours.
Well, I think they're the same. I think we decided we're not going to talk about the holiday lights, correct?
No, well, I just said Christmas.
Look at the little lawyer in
and
you.
I only said that because I thought that would be too easy and we would stay on Christmas the whole time. Because that's a whole show unto itself. Which I agree.
And as I think the holidays come closer, maybe we should talk about that again. So I'm happy because I think that you're going to talk about something that I was going to try and sneak in there too.
Oh, well, maybe. I don't know. We'll see who steals what first.
Here. And I don't mean this to potentially steal one from you. I also am not going to talk about things like the Castle Dream lights.
Well,
is that something that is on your list?
Well, considering that's a holiday Christmas thing, no, because I purposely kept it off my list.
Okay. So yeah, there's a couple of things, and like I didn't even talk about the castle projection because I just thought it was so obvious.
Well, now listen, see now,
that's your slew. Stop stealing the easy ones. All right, but listen,
this is your newest trick. Now it's not that you steal them; it's that you caveat your way through half of my list and eliminate them, and then I feel like a dope. Since you called me dopey, talking about them because you said not to talk about so.
But no, that's not fair because I explain the rules as we go along.
Yeah, well,
listen, I am a gentleman and you are a scholar, so I will let you go first before I steal any more of yours.
All right. Well, since you're kind of hinting at one that I might think you're stealing from me, so now some of these I'm cheating, as we are wont to do.
Might as well. The first one out, you might as well cheat.
Well, I might. In this case, I'm going to pull an attraction, but I might talk about a few different aspects of the attraction and squeeze 3 or 4 into one here. Nice. So, since we're not going Christmas, but we're going holidays, I'm going to the Haunted Mansion. And I hear you go.
Yeah, man. It's on my list.
Oh, I thought you were going to go, this one. No, well, okay. Haunted Mansion. Since Halloween is right around the corner. It's right around the corner, Lou. That's one of the first things that popped into my head. And just starting from the outside, I think the Haunted Mansion is spectacularly lit up throughout the year. One of my favorite nighttime pictures to take when it's lit up in that ghostly, spooky, bluish color. But at Halloween, it's even more spectacular especially during Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween parties when it's bathed in oranges and greens and black lights and fog and mist hovering around it. Really creepy and even more photogenic for those who are into that kind of thing. But there's a lot of lighting effects inside the Haunted Mansion that I really like too, which is kind of strange thing to say since it's mostly dark in there. But one of the things, I'll just point to one of my favorites, and I think it's really cool because it's a special effect that's deceptively simple. And a lot of people, especially a lot of first-time people, might not realize how simple it is. And I'm talking about the singing bus in the graveyard. And, a lot of new people or people that have been there a lot of times just don't know, might think these are computer-generated holographic effects when, and this is a spoiler for those who don't know, although I think everybody knows, but for those who don't know, I'm about to give it away, but they're actually just video projections of people's faces in film projected on, blank busts, if you will, and to look like people are talking. But I really like it because it's such a simple effect that goes way, way, way back. But to this day, it's still convincing. And and I know how it works, but we still look at it and we're still in awe of, geez, that's really neat and really clever. And I think if nothing else, not only does it look great, but it's just a testament to the ingenuity and cleverness of the Imagineers that just came up with the idea in the first place and how cool it is. And it stands the test of time. And that's just one of a zillion lighting effects in the Haunted Mansion we could talk about, but I'm just going to stick with that one.
And look, I'm happy that you sort of opened up with that because I think it's clearly obvious. But what I really like about it, and I think you're right, I think there's an interior and exterior discussion to be had about the mansion itself. But what I think is really neat about it is how the lighting of the mansion changes the feel of that building, right? So during the day, it's not a very sort of intimidating or scary-looking building in and of itself, right? And I think as you start to get closer and put pieces together, and if you look very carefully at the front door and the columns and the black wreath, all of a sudden it starts. You start to sort of get a little bit of the story put together, but at night. And when those lights starts to come on at dusk, and when it's up against the black sky, and you've got the blues, and especially like you said at Halloween, the purples and the oranges and the greens. I mean, it really makes it a much more foreboding type of structure, and it has a certain sort of character to it, sort of being set apart from the rest of Liberty Square, like set up on this hill. And in Halloween, when the fog and the smoke is out front, and the different colors and the lightning, and it sort of brings it all together in terms of story. All of a sudden, that very somewhat nondescript home becomes a much more foreboding mansion at night.
Foreboding. I think that it also, and a lot of the attractions, especially in Magic Kingdom, do this. But I write a lot about, or talk about that a lot of the origins of all the things you see at Disney have their roots in movies and cinema and stuff. And it's the Haunted Mansion is a great example of a place or an attraction that's built with a series of scenes, but they're built with a cinematic perspective. Like, in other words, the scenes you see are boxed and arranged like you would be shooting a movie scene, and it's the lighting has so much to do with that, where they have lights set up not only to illuminate the scene and project the mood, but to have you look, and you alluded to this, to look in a certain place and not look in a certain place, and have the scene play out before you as you move past as if it were a real life movie, which I think is a really cool thing to see there, and in other attractions like Pirates of the Caribbean and some other things, but I'm not trying to sneak one in. But the lighting is really huge in that. It really speaks to the cinematic origination of a lot of stuff that we see.
I agree. And actually, the first one on my list, surprisingly, is not necessarily an attraction per se. Oddly enough, Tim Foster, it revolves around food.
Serious? I got it. I can't wait to hear this.
And it actually revolves around Tim Foster, because this place holds a sentimental moment for me because of a lunch or a dinner that we shared. I think we actually recorded it as a live restaurant review. But when I tried to think about impressive and immersive and mood-setting lighting and tone and theme and temperature, the first thing that came to my mind was Mexico.
Okay. I was wondering where
So I was thinking, I thought inside more than outside, right? And look, and I love the beautiful sort of, the temple of Teotihuacan on the outside, and the way that is lit at night. But once you enter the building, more importantly, once you enter and go down the stairs, you've got this 17th century style hacienda, but the lighting in there is so subtle and it's so subdued. And I think no other location in Walt Disney World does such an amazing job of a transformative use of lighting, in that it could be 117 degrees outside in the middle of August, but you walk in there and it's cooler, not just because of the temperature, but it's cooler because of the colors. And you've got this very subdued lighting that gives you the sense of being outside. Like, you feel like you're outside, and it's always twilight in there. And there's something very warm and very intimate, dare I say romantic, about this sort of hacienda and this plaza outside. And I think the lighting up against the tile floors and the stucco walls, they do an amazing job of bringing the outdoors inside. And when you sit in Santa and Hell, or you go on the attraction and you see the lighting of the pyramid and of the foliage and up, the reflections up against the water, I just think it is one of the most beautiful locations any time of day or night. And I think it's due in large part to the lighting. And I would even tell you to even take, and with all the places we're talking about, pay attention. It's not just to the lighting, but the lighting fixtures too, and how the lighting is presented, not just on wall sconces or on poles, or even what just comes from being lit from below. And I think the pyramid and the volcano and those blues and the greens and the purples is just spectacular.
I will never forget the beef fillet tips that we shared, and what I guess I'm not ashamed now to say was a very romantic dinner.
It was.
Um,
Is that the one we recorded? I think we recorded that one, didn't
no, you were. I only recorded it. You were just eating your way around the world, and I was enjoying the spectacle. But I think that's the that led to the evening of the stale M&Ms at Canada when we talked about illuminate. And maybe I'll talk about illuminations later on.
Shocker.
But don't.
But I mean, doesn't it?
All right. Well, maybe I won't then.
But I mean, right. The inside though, right? When you get into the marketplace is very festive. It's very alive. As you get closer to the water, I think it becomes, like you said, dare I say, a little bit more romantic. But then you see the pyramid off in the distance, and again, a great use of force perspective, and that like Yucatan jungle that it sits in, and the volcano that you can see sort of breathing that red flame from the top. I love it. I just love the colors. I love the lighting inside. That's why it was first on my list.
I love it too. I'm going to go off on a total tangent for mine because I just have to say this I'm going to talk to my fellow graphic designer artist types out there because they'll know what I'm talking about. And indulge me for a second here because you reminded me of this in Mexico.
So you're basically wait. Let me just say. So you're basically starting off by saying, Lou,
I'm not.
Lou, you're probably not going to understand this, but for the smart people in the room, let me go ahead.
No, wait, what? No, speaking of lighting, and speaking of, well, I guess I should make this one. I didn't mean to. Soren comes to mind in a weird way, and I'll explain why. And my fellow computer print people know what I'm talking about. You reminded me of. I'm talking about Mexico. I'm thinking about Soren, and I'm thinking about the queue, especially when you get down towards the end and you go down the corridor that is just lit up with the blue lights and the neon and everything. What it brought to mind is that there's in the print world, there's some colors you can't reproduce. And I know this because I print this little magazine that sometimes I have problems with when I'm trying to print Soren. But when you said Mexico, it made me think of that because there's some, like especially like neon blues and greens and purples and stuff. Like these are colors and they're evident throughout Disney, but especially in these two places. But you have to be there to really appreciate them. And I think there's some colors are just so that they put in front of you, just so unbelievable and so pure and so brilliant that a camera can maybe do it justice. Certainly a magazine cannot, which, it just has to be appreciated in person. And you can't relive these through other things. That just brought that to mind. And they're really good at creating scenes like that where you have to see it to believe it. And the only way to truly appreciate it is being there. Boy, so
did you just sneak in Soren?
No, because
it doesn't count. All right.
Well, we can call it that if you want.
No, that's all right. You get it.
I'll give it to you. All right. Well, okay. Then I'll think of another one. Well, all right. I'm going to stay in Epcot, and I'm going to pull an attraction and pull 4 into 1.
Oh.
And I'm going to give you the castle because I'm taking Spaceship Earth.
Now, can I tell you something?
You weren't doing the castle.
I wasn't doing the castle. I was doing Spaceship Earth.
Well, I'm doing Spaceship Earth. All right, I got 3 things I'm thinking of, and I'll list them, and I want to hear what you were thinking of in terms of Spaceship Earth. And the first thing I was thinking of with Spaceship Earth is similar to what you touched on with the Haunted Mansion. That during the day, Spaceship Earth is nice and big and awe-inspiring, jaw-dropping, but it's gray. At night, though, it's spectacular when all the lights come on, and instead of this just futuristic gray sphere, all of a sudden it's bathed in all these different colors, and they're subtle, but they're there. You can see, purples and reds and blues, and they're reflecting different ways off of the different tiles. And as you walk around Spaceship Earth and see it from different angles, and as the sun goes down, it gets darker and darker. It really becomes so much different than it is during the daytime. and so much more spectacular. And I think I always think of it. It's just, I don't know if it would occur to me to have done that if I was designing Epcot. I would have probably just thrown spotlights on it and called it a day. But the Imagineers having used it as a canvas to paint these beautiful colors that I think most people, or some people, might not even notice and might just take for granted as they walk by. But it's truly spectacular. So if you are walking around underneath Spaceship Earth at night, take a minute and really appreciate what they did with the lighting on this huge spherical canvas. It never ceases to amaze me. As we go inside, I'm actually going to go with one. It's not there anymore, but this, and I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite scenes in Spaceship Earth, in fact, it is my favorite scene in Spaceship Earth, is the one not there anymore, but is the City of the Future. And that was towards the end of the descent. And when I asked my daughter about this list, this is the first thing that popped into her mind, because of the spectacular fiber optics and just the dazzling lighting effects that were put to use in this display of a futuristic city, which was in the dark, so that's really all they could use to show it was light. But it was spellbinding, it was magical. The music that went along with it never failed to bring a tear to my eye. And though I miss it desperately, the one part about the new descent portion of the ride that I do like is as you leave the area where you see Earth up in the top of the sphere, I always tell people as you start your descent to close your eyes, count to 30, and then open them. And then when you do, you'll see it seems like millions and millions of little pinpoints of light surrounding you, which again, if you examine what it is, and I'm actually pointing up in the air like people can see what I'm doing, but it's a really simple effect in execution, but when you see it, it's truly dazzling. And I like closing your eyes. Instead of it gradually coming into view, just close your eyes, opening it, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're in the middle of space, the future, something which is really spectacular. So those are my 3 Spaceship Earth light things. So what do you got?
So I'm with you completely, and it was actually second on my list.
All right.
Spaceship Earth was, and I almost, it was one of those things, Tim. I almost felt like, gosh, it's so obvious. Spaceship Earth is such an obvious choice, but I couldn't get away from it. And I think the reason why is, look, the design of itself, I think, is beautiful in its simplicity, right? Not to get all like math, geometry nerd on you, but I love the combination of the soft and the hard lines, right? It's this beautiful sphere made up of all of these different, isosceles, triangles, and then you're sort of supported by these gigantic, monolithic support legs. But at night, the way it's lit with those purple hues and the yellows and the oranges, it takes on a completely you almost forget that it's that sort of plain silver color during the day, and I think especially when it starts, and obviously I'm going to keep going back to dusk. It's my favorite time of day at the parks. But when it hits dusk and that purple hue starts to come, and you almost sort of can't get a sense of, all the different ways and directions that it's being lit from above, from below, from the sides. I think it's just spectacular, and I think that's why for many people it is their favorite icon of the parks. That is the one that they think of, even maybe more so than the castle.
Me too.
That's all you got is me too?
Well, I want to hear what you like on the inside too. Or are you going to just leave me with that?
No, I like it on the inside. I think the lighting in some of the scenes is, I think the Renaissance is one of my favorite parts. Again, because it gives you, there's some, I don't know how there's a warmth to it. I don't know how else to describe it, that I just like in that scene. But when I think of Spaceship Earth and I think of the lighting, my mind first goes to nighttime, and I could even throw in a little added because I think it's beautiful in different ways depending on where you are looking at it from. So if you're coming from World Showcase and you've got the the interventions fountains going, and I know some people like it or don't like it, that there's the shade structure again with the triangles on it and then Spaceship Earth off in the distance, it's very different than getting very close up to it and looking at it through the palm trees and the other trees that are lit from below. It just changes the feel of it as you from being distant to being close up. It's hard to articulate, and I'm hoping that somebody who's listening is nodding their head going, Lou, you're babbling like an idiot, but I know exactly what you mean.
we need a poet. Well, see, along the same lines, I think, I said Greece, I don't know if you heard me, but that scene, the Phoenician scene, and basically the nighttime scenes, I keep going back to the Mexico pavilion, and there's probably so many more examples as we can think of, but any depiction of nighttime that you see in any of these attractions, I get, like you're talking about, a feeling of warmth or whatever, but I get just such a feeling of calmness and serenity, I guess, when I mean any of these nighttime scenes like that. And a lot of it's the lighting, and it's just that blue, and I always come back to it. It's just this blue you can't picture, you can't reproduce. You have to see it, and it's like a blue you've never seen before. However they make it, and like I said, I just get that feeling of relaxation, and sometimes fall asleep. But I think it's for the good.
I think that's the point, right? And that's why I was trying to give credit to the lighting designers. I think that there is a true art form to it, to choosing, and I know and forgive me because I know you're the designer, and maybe I'm not using the right terminology, but that the temperature of the colors and how saturated they may be, the feelings that they are able to evoke from that, I think is incredibly powerful. And sometimes it's hiding in plain sight where we look at the lighting, but we don't necessarily stop to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. You got your terminology right. That's very good.
Thank you.
You have learned well.
I was on Alta Vista right before we got online. So.
Oh dear.
So is it me or is
it's
it you?
your turn, actually? Believe it or not.
Man. Gosh, I was
unless
tempted.
We think we did 10, then we can call it a show and be done.
No. So I'm going to jump through my list because I think that you're going to go to. I think you're gonna speak to one, and maybe I want to try and hit one that you're not. And understanding that the park is as we record this in October 2015, the park is in a state of flux. But I think that one area that is not going to change are the streets of Hollywood and Sunset Boulevards at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and I think specifically Sunset Boulevard. If you stand at the intersection and look down Sunset Boulevard, like Hollywood itself, I think it does, via the lighting, a beautiful job of evoking a sense of a differentiation in place and time, right? You do get the sense that you are in California in the 1940s. And one of the things that strikes me about it, Tim, is specifically the lighting, not just of the buildings themselves, or certainly the Tower of Terror, right? Which I think is incredibly well lit. You talk about a beautifully lit sort of visual weenie at the end of the street, but look at how the palm trees are lit, right? Look at how they're lit from below. I think it really gives that street specifically, for me, a very unique feel. Again, we're going back to the colors. The Hollywood Hollywood Tower Hotel.
Well, that's what I call it.
Sorry.
So.
Excuse me. That icon, that park icon almost at the end of the street uses those greens, but more importantly, those purples to give you a sense, it's a beacon for the show business elite, but it's also a beacon for us to go down. And it gives that hotel, which has that very, muddy rust color throughout the day, a very different feel at night.
Right.
I know you've never ridden it in day or night.
What's this Tower of Terror you're talking about?
Have you ever actually been on set? Do you even know where I'm talking about?
Is that the place with all the countries?
Yeah, it's the place for all the countries. But I think I think the street, and again, I would love to actually talk to somebody who worked on it. But I think the colors of the intensity of the green of the tops of the palm trees, how it contradicts or conflicts in a beautiful way with the purple of the hotel, and yet the neon of the hotel, sort of is connected to the neon that you see on the facades of the streets. And I like the street lamps and just the way I do. I think I wish I was a better photographer, because I just think it's I think it's one of the most beautiful sort of like expanses. I'm not thinking about a specific building, but sort of a boulevard to look down in terms of overall color.
I agree. It's very photogenic. Actually, we're talking about a lot of stuff that are spectacular things to photograph, and that's definitely one of them. But and I have been there before. You might remember I ran screaming down the street.
But I mean, don't you think that it does? I mean, just taking your
the chicken factor
fear, right? Taking the chicken factor out of it, but doesn't it evoke like the mansion, right? That building off in the distance. There's something attractive yet very eerie about it.
Yes, I agree. Actually, when you said Hollywood Boulevard or Hollywood Studios, this was not on my list at all, but you made me think of talking about evoking a different time in a different place, like the lighting on Hollywood Boulevard itself, and entering the park as night comes on, and the neon lights come on. That's what I thought you were heading, and I didn't think of that. But that again, the lighting design throughout the park, but especially in the entrance there, is spectacular for evoking that feel of Hollywood from years gone by. And actually, it reminds me of the scene, which I didn't think about, but in Cars when they light up. You know what I'm talking about. That whole. Are you mad because I took one, or mad?
No, I'm mad because I was just about to say. My definitive drop the mic statement was going to be, dare I say that now, especially with the great movie ride off in the distance, not blocked by the hat, dare I say that the street of Hollywood and or Sunset Boulevard may be the most beautiful sort of long distance, well lit view anywhere in the Disney parks, save for Route 66 at Disney's California Adventure when they turn those lights on at night.
Yeah. So, but no, I get, the same feeling. Just from with the one place during the day, it's just a very different place at night with a whole different, just magical feel. And I think we keep running into this. Words just can't describe the look and the feel that you get when you see this.
Well, because we're talking about something that's clearly is just it's a visual thing, and we're trying to articulate it. And look, that's why a photograph. They say that we process so much more from a photograph than we can do in anything that we read or anything that we hear, because there's so much that our brains are interpreting. So it is hard to somewhat articulate it, especially when I'm making up words.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But you do. I mean, I've been to California, and I feel as though I'm in California again when I'm at the studios.
Yeah. No, well, the funny thing is I've been to California once or twice, but I get the feeling I'm there. Even though, unlike you, it's kind of a foreign thing to me, but somehow it seems real. That's not the right word, I think, but
authentic. It feels genuine.
But it really puts you in the mood. Especially, I think Hollywood Boulevard, when it's not even so much. It really does look like that if you go to Hollywood, for real. But as they say, this is the Hollywood that never was. But you don't even really need that said to you, because I think when you walk in, you just get it. This is the Hollywood and movie magic in its heyday, and neon lights and spotlights, and
Well, you know what I think does it too, and maybe I think, and if you the next time you go to Hollywood Studios, maybe you never realize, if you look down Hollywood Boulevard to the Chinese Theater, the palm trees there are different than anywhere you'll find anywhere else because they tower. They're very tall. They're very skinny. They almost look like, giant dandelions because they tower over the buildings themselves. That's very different than what you see on Sunset, where the tops of the palm trees are aligned with sort of the tops of the buildings. And I think that's why it has such an expansive feel when you're looking down Hollywood Boulevard.
I concur.
Thank you.
I can't expand on that. You articulated that very well.
Now I'm dropping the mic. Now
you're dropping the mic. So, whose turn are we on?
That would be you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to switch gears totally.
Oh, boy.
And kind of drop in 27 different attractions to this one. But when we're talking about lighting effects, as I was doing the list, one thing that started jumping out at me was the lighting that's prevalent in a lot of different attractions that go under the umbrella of the classic dark ride. And again, we're talking mostly about Fantasyland, but most of the interior attractions you can say this about. But I'm thinking specifically about Snow White's Scary Adventures and Peter Pan's Flight and many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. That very simple. Again, this goes back to it's a very simple thing, but it's very memorable. And when you see it, it just puts you there. And it's that neon color paint treatment that's throughout the attraction with the black lights that just creates a visual that you don't see it all during the day or normal situations. And and what can you say? I think for most people, their first experiences at Walt Disney World were on these dark rides, like specific Snow White and Peter Pan. And when you talk about the Magic Kingdom and you're being nostalgic about it, that's one of the main things you remember or you think about is those vivid colors and the black light and seeing your shoelaces on your shoes glowing this blue color because of the black lighting. And but it's just the way that whole what do I call it, a genre came together and how Disney made it into something that you think is uniquely them, even though other people have done dark rides throughout the years. But to me, it's so synonymous with Walt Disney World and the Magic Kingdom that that's one of the first things I thought of when I was doing the list. And again, it's one of those things you can take all the pictures you want. You can you can take video of it all you want. It's just unless you're there seeing it for yourself, it's just not the same. And I think it's weird because when we're talking about the top 10 smells, which maybe we should do a second part of that since you seem to like that one so much. But smells evoke strong memories in people, and I think this is one case where I think just that visual when you see it, and if you immediately floods you back to if you'd been there when you were a child and you remember seeing these things when you were little. And it's one of those constants throughout the years, like the classic dark ride at Disney, and they still do it. It's from the Journey of the Little Mermaid, for example, the Seas with Nemo. Even new dark rides still evoke, I think, that feeling of nostalgia, because these were the kind of the same lighting effects that you saw when you were a little kid and you were in the Magic Kingdom. And they're still just so cool today. As cool today as they was back in the day. So
you're right, and I think you're right. I think you hit on it too, that there is that romanticism that we have with the classic dark rides, because that for all of us was our first exposure into Disney bringing the classic films that we were experiencing on our TVs or movie screens to life for us, right? They all of a sudden they went from being two-dimensional images to things that we were now active participants in. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before too, Tim. It's not just about what you were supposed to light and how you sort of light certain things to evoke a certain emotion, or red. We're sort of accustomed to knowing that red is sort of maybe the evil color and blue is a cooler color. I mean, look at things like Aladdin. Every time you saw Jafar, the background was red. Every time you saw Aladdin and Jasmine the genie was blue. So it was that good versus evil thing. But I think it's also about, especially in the dark rides, where the light should not be, how the shadows need to fall, so that witch, when she turned around, was just a little bit scarier. How you didn't know where your car was going in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And then when you did see a color, right, when you did get hit by the train and go to HE double hockey sticks, it was that very warm, dark reds, and sort of you knew exactly where you were. You didn't have to even see the guy with the big pitchfork and horns, in front of you. But there was the use of the shadows and how they fell and the colors as well. And I agree with you 100%. And I had a tough time when I was thinking of an attraction, trying to narrow it down to one. So I think that just the dark rides themselves is sort of a good way to encapsulate them all.
Good.
That's it.
Good job, Lou.
Thank you. Bravo. Good for you. Bravo. I'm actually surprised. I think I'm most surprised that you actually
surprised you came up with that one, Tim.
No, that you rode Snow White's Scary Adventure.
Piece of cake. No problem.
All right, so I'm going to go back to what I originally had as like number 3 on my list. And the reason why is because I think the lighting in this land radically changes how the land, how the vistas, how the street looks from day versus night. Because Tomorrowland, I know, is a land that we both know and love and frequent on our visits to Magic Kingdom. But during the day, maybe not so much as it was in 1971 when it was a very sterile, white, whitewashed, a little bit of blues here and there environment. Now with this tomorrow, that never was, this Jules Verne-esque vision of tomorrow, it still is grays and metallics and blues, and there is a sense of sterility to it. There's not a lot of color impact there other than some accents on top of the Stitch's Great Escape building. There's the yellow in the back. I think Rocket Tower Plaza with the spinning planets, although it's a little bit off in the distance. But the buildings themselves, for the most part, are still relatively placid in their tones, right? It's a light blue. It's a light, purple on the roof. There's nothing. There are no really intense colors. But when those neon lights come on at night, it is a completely different environment from that. Tomorrowland, I don't know what you call it, the entranceway with the neon purples and the greens. But when you look down the Avenue of the Planets, there is such a radical intensity in terms of the greens and the reds and the blues and the purples. I mean, it's the entire spectrum of colors. And I think this land, maybe more so than any other land in Magic Kingdom at night, takes on a whole new life, a whole new energy, and I think a whole different feeling because of the way it's lit. And we go back again to those blues and those purples, and maybe there is something inherently comforting about those colors, but I think that there's an energy and excitement to Tomorrowland at night, which is very different as opposed to any other land than what it is during the day.
It's my favorite place at night.
Favorite attraction in Tomorrowland?
The People Mover, of course.
All right.
Come on.
No, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure you're still the same. But and look, I think even Tim, as you walk, and I'm not trying to sneak one in here, but the way Space Mountain is lit at night, as you walk in the plaza in front of Space Mountain. Take a look at the palm trees there. The way, again, they're lit from below, and we've talked about the story of what the palm trees are and what they represent. I don't know. There's something very. Again, I'm at somewhat of a loss for words of how to sort of describe it, but just the feel of that land at night. Is very, very different. And it's one of the ones I like to just sort of wander through at night. And I love people mover at night.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I love that at night because and not for no other reason than you do get to see Tomorrowland in all of its entirety and can appreciate all the different lighting effects that you talked about. Now, I would be remiss. I didn't want to make this a Is it your turn or my turn?
It's yours. Who cares?
It's my turn. I didn't really want to make this a single one because it's so screaming obvious. But since we're on the subject of Tomorrowland, I just want to sneak in. We would be remiss in not mentioning the fiber optic swirls of light that go on in Future World Plaza in Epcot. And this is not a shocker. This is not a surprise. Everyone knows about them. But if we're talking about cool lighting effects, you got to bring that one up.
I meant to mention we were talking about Spaceship Earth, and I was just so enamored with your description that I was.
I was going to throw that in there, and I forgot to. But it's just so cool. The thing about that particular effect is when I show it to people for the first time, and they're just so mesmerized by it. And I'm still mesmerized by watching them, and how they seemingly appear and disappear, and when they're not there, you can stare at the concrete for as long as you want. You can't really pick out the pattern that's going to emerge as the lights come on. And one of the things I think is really cool is to speaking of nighttime and evening, as the twilight comes and the sun starts to set. A neat thing to do anywhere is to look in the sky and wait to see that first star peek out till you can see it. And it's neat to do that in Future World as the sun sets, to watch the ground, and for that first moment we can pick out the fiber optic lights they're on, but when you can first start to pick them out is a pretty cool thing. So you know what, I like that enough. I'm going to make that my next one. So I'm not going to cheat. That's my next one.
Cool.
So, I think it's a cool. Everybody knows it, but I think it's a very cool, very clever thing that they didn't. The thing I really like about it too is it's not something. It doesn't have anything to do with an attraction. Doesn't have anything to do with something you have to get a fast pass for or anything. It's just I don't want to call it a throwaway effect, but you could. It's just something they put in there for. Because it's Future World, it's Epcot, it's cool, and it's there, and it's one of those. When you see it the first time, it's just one of those hidden surprises. You weren't expecting to see this, but wow,
and that's why I like it. Cool. Right, yeah. I like it because it's a it's a guest satisfier, and what I mean by that is I like it because when I see the family that's walking out exhausted after Illuminations, and the kid looks down and he sees the ground, and all of a sudden their eyes light up and they're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like, that's the reaction that and look, it's simple, right? It's simple fiber optics in the ground. It's not, anything earth shattering, but because it's so unexpected, even as to where it is, or you don't see it anywhere else except sort of on your way out, I think it's sort of, maybe akin to the goodnight kiss from the castle. Mm-hmm. It's just sort of a little sort of throwaway, giveaway, thank you, little neat thing. And that's one of the things, Tim, I bet kids go home or parents go home and go, oh, we're walking out of Epcot and Illuminations were great, but they had these fiber optics in the ground. So I agree with you. And I did sort of have it as part of Spaceship. Actually, no, it looks like I had it twice. I had a Spaceship Earth and then Future World in the pavement. So there you go.
There you go.
So I really, other than jumping on your Spaceship Earth band and Haunted Mansion bandwagon, I feel obligated to mention an attraction. Mm-hmm. And when I thought of attractions, believe it or not, I was sort of going through the parks in my mind's eye, trying to think of interiors that are so well lit, right? Because again, I was sort of talking about how important it was according to story. But I gotta tell you, the one that jumps out at me is actually an exterior lighting effect in a land that I will bet you don't probably go to that often. Not because you're a scaredy cat, unless you're going to take pictures.
Well, that knocks a lot of lands out of contention.
But I think that you can handle this one.
Okay.
And even if you can't, I would invite you. if you haven't been before, to go to Storybook Circus and just sit and watch Dumbo.
Wow.
Go look at Tim, I just think, again, the purple, it's like a little mini world of color, right? Happening right in front of you. You don't need to ride the attraction. You don't need to wait in the standby line. But the purples and the blues and the rainbows and the kinetic elements with the opposite spinning carousels and the water and the way the water sort of dances. I just think, again, it's simple lights and fountain effects, but the way it's done, the way it's choreographed and orchestrated with the lighting of the ride vehicles themselves, I think Dumbo at night is just spectacular.
Beautiful. I'm applauding.
Thank you.
That's
left field.
That's fantastic. I didn't even think of that.
Next time you come down, me and you, we're doubling up on Dumbo.
We're going to double up on Dumbo. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, that's spectacular. You made me think of something, too, when you said water. And I don't know why I didn't think of this, but the way that they use lighting with different water displays, particularly in Epcot, you talked about the the fountain. And at night, of course, it's spectacular, not only because it's a fountain, but the lighting that comes on at night that goes with it, the upside down waterfall over at Illumination or the Imagination Pavilion. A lot of the water effect, whether they're fountains or even standing water, when the lights come on and the way the Imagineers designed the light to play off them makes for some spectacular sights too.
True.
And I'm just cheating. I'm throwing that one in. It's not even a real. That's not even a real one of mine. So, but so yeah.
Is that it? You got nothing. You got nothing.
Well, can I do a real one? Because that wasn't a real one.
Oh, that wasn't a real one. Yeah, go ahead. It's all you.
Well, you know what? Actually, as I was going through, I hit all my big ones, so kind of reduced to. Well, kind of switching gears to a very, very, very specific lighting effect that I just think is cool. And it's not, a grand entire land or attraction building it's lit up, but a very specific effect that when I saw it, I was just dazzled by it, and I'm still dazzled every time I see it. Is in Enchanted Tales with Belle, when you're standing in front of the mirror and it transforms into the portal. And the effect itself is a combination of a bunch of different things, as we know, but one of the main components of that effect is just the lighting, the simple lighting and the cascade of the different green patterns that illuminate the frame, and as the lights go out and everything shimmers and the frame expands and then the mirror comes on. It's just the light has so much to do with that effect, which is a genius effect in how they pull that off. And even though I know how they do it, but even when you see it, you just can't believe it's happening in front of your eyes, and lighting has so much to do with it. And I think that's an example of today, a newer effect that the Imagineers came up with, where they use technology to a great advantage, but continue, as they always do, to use lighting to great effect to create this just magical portal to a new land that you really think is appearing right before your eyes. So that was a very specific lighting effect I thought of when I was thinking of this topic. So.
And I think that's cool, right? I think the fact that you can think about it and look for it you can look for, I think, Tim, in specific lighting fixtures, right, and lighting elements that you'll see. But I think you could also sort of see it on a grander scale as well too. So yes, I'll give you one more. Although I will tell you, Tim, there's so many more I would love to give you. I was planning on talking about things like Everest.
Here we go. Here we go.
I think Harambe Market at night in Animal Kingdom is beautiful. Main Street USA, we could sort of do an entire show about. Oh, wait.
That's true.
Right. Main Street USA, the popcorn lights outside, the warmth of again that yellow hue to the white lights set against the color of the castle in the distance. +1, go inside the Emporium where West Center Street used to be and look up and look at the beautiful lighting fixtures. Look at that huge chandelier that I'll bet you probably never noticed before, and then go back and look at it again at night. However, that being said, I want to give you one last one, and believe it or not, I'm surprised we didn't talk about any resorts yet, right? Because I think so many of the resorts, like the boardwalk, the causeway between the Swan and Dolphin, see what I did there, are beautifully lit at night. But I will tell you, if I had to pick one in terms of lighting effect.
Wait, I'm going to pick one too, but I want to see which one you pick.
Mine's the Polynesian.
Okay.
It's the Polynesian because I think the combination of the tiki torches and the water and the color of the buildings. Look, there is something, again, about seeing that natural flame flickering against the night sky or against the volcano in the background or by the pool. And look, one of the places I love being, especially when it's a cool Florida night, is a Trader Sam's. And I don't mean Trader Sam's on the inside, which again is beautifully lit and very well done and story and effects. I like Trader Sam's outside, surrounded by these tiki torches, Polynesian, often live music. It's not just for the gastronomy, I assure you. Although I will probably be having a snack and a drink while I'm out there.
Oh, of course.
But sitting outside with the music, and it's well lit, and it's very warm, and it's very soothing, and it's very transformative. It makes you feel as though you are, you're somewhere else.
I agree. That's the one I was going to pick, and I will pick since you brought it up, is the Wilderness Lodge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for the same really reasons that the Polynesian is so cool. When you're walking around outside, heading down, especially if you're heading down to the boat dock, just at night, it's just so spectacular. Well, I keep coming back to this. It's just so serene. It's so calming, the way it's lit, and it's not. I don't know if it's spectacularly lit, or I would say it's just so well lit and so naturally lit, and you feel like. I think you really feel like you're so far away from civilization and even from the Magic Kingdom, which isn't that far away, as you know, but it just seems like you're worlds away. And yeah, I thought of resorts too when I was doing this. I think you could lump them all. There's just the way they're all lit up at night is spectacular. But my favorite's the Wilderness Lodge. So.
And you know what? Look, the important and the operative word for everything that we've been talking about, and I lost count of how many times you said it as you were describing Wilderness Lodge. We're not talking about what it makes us think, we talk about how the lighting makes us feel, right? All these things, all the attractions make us feel a certain way. The lighting makes us feel a certain way. We look down the street and we feel this. We feel relaxed. I think that's it, man. I think that's the differentiator. I think that's what Disney does so well and why the lighting is so very, very important. Why it warranted a top 23 or however many we had in there. And look, there are, we can probably continue on for another hour and talk about other ones and go, oh, yeah, what about because look, I want to sneak more in, but I won't because I don't want you to yell at me. But I know that there's people who are listening who are going, Mangello, Foster, what are you people thinking? How are you not talking about Frontierland at night, which is arguably Lou Mangello's favorite land in the Magic Kingdom at night? But I'm not going to do that. Because then I'll get into discussion and a debate about Frontierland versus Adventureland and the transitions in between and how the lighting suddenly changes. But I'm not going to do that. Because the reason
thing, because that would be wrong.
That would just be wrong on so many levels.
Sneak in more.
Because then if I did, I would start talking about Golden Oak Outpost and the poutine waffle fries and then what I'd be eating in the but I'm not going to do that.
Well,
I'm not going to do that.
It's good because then I wouldn't be compelled to bring up one of my daughter's favorite ones in Maelstrom when you're going up and you see the Eye of Odin glaring at you. And I think that's the most brilliant light I've ever seen. It's like Venus in the sky at twilight, but I won't do it.
Maelstrom.
I won't do it. You can't make
Maelstrom's not there anymore, right? I don't know if this
yeah.
Is
Well, that's why I didn't bring it up, because I know you'd yell at me. So
I won't.
The City of the Future isn't there either in Spaceship Earth.
And neither is the second,
you let me get away with that.
Neither is ImageWorks on the second level of the Imagination Pavilion, which at dusk was redonkulously beautiful. You talk about an underutilized space in terms of the visuals. Gosh. Anyway, but what I do want to do is two things. I want, listener, my friend, I need to hear from you. I need to know, what is your favorite lighting element in Walt Disney World? Is it an attraction, an exterior, an interior? Is it a restaurant? Whatever it may be, I want you to tell me. I want you to share it with me. I implore you. My hands are together in a pleading, begging sense. I want you to tell me on Twitter at Lou Mongello, Facebook.com/WW Radio. Go to the WW Radio website. Leave your answers there in the comments, or I want to hear the passion in your voice. Call the voicemail 407-900-9391. Tell me what is your favorite lighting element, how it makes you feel. Let me hear it in your voice. Or you can yell at Timmy Foster for whatever reason. But speaking of yelling at Timmy Foster, you also probably want to yell at Timmy Foster in gratitude, in elation, in joy, and in thanks. Not just because you can go to Celebrations Press and order Celebrations Magazine in print or digital format, but because, Timmy Foster, you've got not just one, but like multiple new special things out and coming out soon. Nice segue to the plug.
Thanks for that. No, speaking of Halloween, folks.
I love me some Halloween.
I want to mention it's getting close. Halloween's right around the corner.
What do you mean? Dude, it's been Halloween since September. It's in Walt Disney World.
Well,
Come on now.
That's true, too. I've been talking with a printer. They're just about done printing the Celebrations Collectors Halloween Hauntings book, which we've been talking about, Tower of Terror, Haunted Mansion, and other thing, how beautiful they are at night. And the book includes, among other things, the book includes some spectacular photos of these at night, which I am so grateful to the photographers who we worked with on these, because I could never take these pictures, and it's just amazing what they did. But all the thing, what we talked about, the lighting of Tower of Terror and Haunted Mansion, is the book features those many pictures of those attractions at night, and you can see this. You can't describe it. You just got to see it. But happy to announce the book is just about here, so you can go to celebrationspress.com and look for the big garish orange jack-o'-lantern box on the front and get your copy. We're still doing our pre-order special, and we also, the Christmas Memories, our second edition collector's book, is still out, which also, speaking of nighttime lighting effects, has tons of beautiful pictures thanks to our wonderful photographers. So, very excited about that.
I have to. I gotta get on there and get me a copy of that.
You got to get you a copy.
That was a subtle hint for you to send me one.
Maybe I'll send you a copy. And this is far away, and I'll be dropping, but we've been kind of dropping hints, but we are going to be working on a further collector's edition book, Disney After Dark.
Ooh.
Yes, and that's probably spring or something like that. But I think for a lot of what we talked about is what we'll try. I don't know if we'll be able to, but try and put into the book all the moods and the experiences and the feeling that you get when you walk around Disney at night, and all the spectacular lighting effects and the way everything's lit up.
It's just like the feeling I get when I'm with Timmy Foster and talking to Timmy Foster.
It's a warm and nostalgic.
It's like a warm hug, and I can't wait to not only do this again, but listen, next time you come down, we got to do another live one from the parks. Somewhere, and I'm going to get you to ride something that you've never ridden before and eat something you've never eaten before, which gives me a lot of room to play with, because that's a pretty expansive list right there. But Timmy Foster, brother, you know I love you. You know I love the top tens, and this is always a lot of fun. So thank you once again, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me. Always, this is my favorite thing to do.
Really?
Sort of watching. I'm just gonna stop talking.
Yeah, you know what? Just let it go. You should have stopped at my favorite thing to do. It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I invite you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history or see how well you pay attention to the details, not just in what you see, but sometimes in what you hear. If you think you know the answer, you can enter via email for your chance to win a Disney prize package. Before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week, I was talking all about Food and Wine Festival over at Epcot, my favorite time of the year. And I said that in 1997, during the festival's second year, festival planners introduced something called the Grand Tasting, sort of a culinary extravaganza, as they called it. And in 2002, that event was renamed and moved to a new location, which is World Showplace. And your question was simply to tell me, what is that known as? Well, again, thanks and congratulations to the hundreds of you who entered and got this one correct, because you knew, and it's one of my favorite events as well, that Party for the Senses is the name of the new event. It's got up to like 50 food and beverage stations, entertainment with Cirque du Soleil's La Nuba. It's a really fun, really special event if you want to do something a little bit extra during the Food and Wine Festival. So I took all the correct entries, randomly selected one. And remember, last week you were playing for a WDW Radio Magic Band cover and a copy of the 102 Ways to Save Money for an Walt Disney World book. And last week's winner is Renee D. So Renee, congratulations. I'll email you, get your prize package out to you right away. If you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So I'm going to stay in Epcot again this week. And I love seeing not just how kids, but how many adults love having their pictures taken with different characters, whether it's the Fab Five or some special characters or those that even come out during special events. But if you wanted to take a picture with Donald Duck in Epcot, where would you go? That's your question for this week. Tell me, where in Epcot can you go to meet and greet and get a picture, maybe autograph from Donald Duck? You have until Sunday, October 18th at 11:59 p.m. to email your answer to contest@wdwradio.com. Again, you're playing for the WDW Radio Magic Band cover, a copy of the 102 Ways to Save Money for an Walt Disney World book, and I'm also going to give you a virtual audio tour of Tomorrowland. You can get both the book and the guide over at WDWradio.com. Just click on the shop link. So good luck and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in this and every week. The fact that you choose to spend and share some of your time with me really, really means a lot to me. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. Gave you maybe a different sense about taking some time to really pay attention to the lighting. I'd love to hear from you about your favorite lighting effect at Walt Disney World. You can tweet me at Lou Mangello. You can share a picture on Twitter or even Instagram and tag me at Lou Mangello there. You can comment over at WDWradio.com on this week's podcast or Facebook.com/WDWRadio. You can also follow my personal profile at Facebook.com/Lou Mangello. I'd love to hear from you. Call the voicemail 407-900-9391. Also, quick and huge thanks to some new members of the WDW Radio Nation family, including Emmanuel, Justin Hutzler, Wesley Fish, and Katie Bell. Really appreciate the love and support. And if you want to help the show and get some cool rewards, including monthly scavenger hunts, access to a private Facebook group, personalized Magic Band covers, logo gear, t-shirts, backpacks, monthly surprise care packages from Walt Disney World and more, you can visit WDWRadio.com/support. And of course, as much as I love connecting with you online, nothing beats a handshake and a hug. Thanks to everybody who came out to the meet of the month last weekend. Planning November's right now, probably in the middle, closer to the end of the month, not really sure of the date. Visit the events page at WDWRadio.com for updates, including not just Meets of the Month, but our events and cruises next year. We have our WDW Radio 9th anniversary cruise on the Disney Fantasy, February 6th through the 13th. It's also Super Bowl weekend, and it's also a Star Wars Day at Sea cruise. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do some special events for our group as well to take advantage of and really have some fun during the Star Wars days. Later on that month, we'll be in New Orleans for a meet, eat, and I know a lot of people are going to be out there doing the New Orleans Half Marathon. I'll be in Chicago the weekend of July 8th and do an event out there. And don't forget about our e-ticket adventure. November 4th, we'll have an event in New York City. Hop on the Disney Magic, cruise down to Puerto Rico, and then have an event in Puerto Rico that weekend as well. Again, visit the events page for more information. I'll also be doing other events on the road throughout the country and overseas as well this and next year. You can visit LouMongello.com to find out where I'll be speaking, or if I can come and maybe speak to your business at your conference or to your kid's school. Would love to try and help there. And if I can help you turn your passion into your profession and maybe get from where you are to where you want to be. I do some personal mentoring and group coaching, really helping you build your brand and business and do what you love full time. Again, you can find out more by visiting LouMongello.com. Quick thanks, as always, to Mousefan Travel, my official and recommended travel provider. I've been using and recommending them for more than 10 years because I love the service. I love the discounts. Obviously, it all comes at no additional cost to you, whether you're going to world, land, or anywhere on planet Earth. Visit mousefantravel.com. And as always, my friends, and you are my friends, whether we have met yet or not, all I ask is that if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Tell your friends. I would love it if you tweet out that you're listening to this week's episode and share the link and comment over on Facebook. And please go and rate and review the show. It takes about 1 minute over in iTunes. It's incredibly helpful. And thanks to you, we have more than 1,000 5-star reviews. Would love to keep them coming. I want to thank some recent reviewers, including K, thanks bye, and Scuzzy C. Lockenheimer. You can visit wdwradio.com/iTunes for a direct link and instructions on how to rate and review the show. And finally, and most importantly, again, I want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to tune in, to come to meets, to watch on Periscope, to email, to tweet, whatever it may be. I know how valuable your time is, right? I know that time is precious. And make sure that you spend it with the right people. And because I believe in that so much, the fact that you choose some of it to spend some of it with me means so much. If I can ever help you and say thank you to you, please let me know how. I hope you have an amazing week, better than the best week ever. So until next time, see ya.
Hello, Lou Mongello. It's Gabby from Baltimore, Maryland. Just calling in to say hello and share some exciting news with you. Probably not even an hour ago, my boyfriend Joe and I became BBC members. With a home resort of the Polynesian. And we're very, very excited. And I just wanted to share it with you and everyone else that we've committed not only to 50 years of magic, but we're laughing that we're now committed to 50 years of each other. So we'll see how that goes, but we're both very, very excited. I was actually just in Disney World last weekend, actually, with my 2-year-old cousin and his mom. It was their first time, and I have to tell you that going to Disney with a child is unlike any experience I've ever had before. Usually it's just Joe and I or some of our friends, but it's really that much more magical when you're seeing everything and experiencing everything through their eyes and just watching his reaction every time Mickey was on a float in a parade or watching the fireworks, every meet and greet was just magical. So anyway, I hope to see you around soon, and I hope you have a magical week. Thanks. Bye.
Hello, Lou Mongello. Hello, WDW Radio Group, WDW Running Team, WDW Radio Cruisers of Lou's Famous Cruises. I am Charlene Nagy from West Seneca, New York, and I am calling to let you know that there is 122 days only until the Star Wars cruise with Darth Vader and CP3O and R2-D2. You never know who you may meet on that cruise. And then we have 90 days left until the Disney 5K for the running team. And there's been the epic e-ticket adventure out of New York City down to the Caribbean is 393 days away. I am so excited to see all my friends again in Disney and on the cruise. It's going to be amazing. What a great 2016. And then with my daughter getting married next year, it's going to be even more adventurous. I am Darlene Maggie. Hugs and love to all. And see you real soon, and stay positive.
You've got a friend.